In our last video on the Berlin Wall, you saw a city torn in two, families destroyed, and everyday life turned into a paranoid nightmare. In part 2, we're diving into the wild, desperate, and downright insane escape plans people used to smuggle themselves, their friends, and their families into the free world. However, they were watched constantly by the East German police. It goes without saying that the overall vibe among people in the eastern part of Berlin was just sad, basically. When the wall was first built, people were already looking for ways to cross the border and reach West Berlin. As we mentioned before, in the beginning it was relatively easy to get to the other side, since the wall was still little more than a few bricks and a bunch of barbed wire. Hell, there's even a famous video of a border guard named Konrad Schumann saying "screw all this" as he jumped over the border and fled to the west. Also, suitable name Konrad, considering he was sort of a con and a rat to the Soviet state. But as the wall evolved from a few stones, some barbed wire and fleeing guards into a highly efficient death strip filled with all sorts of anti-human obstacles, people were made painfully aware that getting across was no longer an option. Ready to roll out in your own tank? Well, World of Tanks just launched its biggest update ever, World of Tanks 2.0, and it's the perfect time to jump in whether you're a completely new player or someone who hasn't played in a while. Now, one of the biggest additions is the brand new Special Tier 11, introducing 16 new tanks at once. Each vehicle comes with unique mechanics and its own upgrade system, and the best part is you can earn them completely free. 15 through different progression lines and 1 through a special personal missions reward. The update also brings a fully redesigned garage and refreshed UI. Customize your loadouts and use the new armor viewer to study enemy weak spots. Gameplay has also been improved, with a huge rebalance across hundreds of vehicles and a much smarter matchmaker, leading to fairer battles and better team compositions. And if you're new, the armor flashlight feature is perfect for learning the game. Just press Y in sniper mode to clearly see armor angles and weak spots before firing, so your newbie ass can start owning. If you want to try it yourself, use my link in the description and start playing World of Tanks for free. And using the link with the code COMBAT, you'll get great rewards like the premium tank Cromwell B, 3 rental premium tanks, Tiger 131, T-78 and Type 64, 250,000 credits, and 7 days of World of Tanks premium. And if you're a returning player, you can also claim extra bonuses like premium time, a camo style, and a premium rental tank. So click the link below, claim your rewards, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Let us take a look at the layout of the wall and see how the system worked. Picture sad Hans from a minute ago, as he decides to risk it all, which in a Soviet state is just your life, since you don't own anything more than a dog's turd. So, risking only that, Hans walks down the street and sees a concrete barrier in front of him. Nothing too frightening, he could easily use a ladder to get to the top. When he drops down the other side, he sees the next obstacles. A wire fence that doesn't look all that menacing, and behind it, a row of steel hedgehogs. Erwin Rommel left them some notes, or so it would seem. As our heroic Hans climbs over the smaller fence, the top wires trigger a signal to the watchtowers, alerting the guards that Hans is attempting his own personal American Ninja Warrior run through the Berlin Wall. Suddenly, the big searchlights are all turned towards Hans, who feels his heart sink into his stomach, and everything inside his stomach sinking into his pants. Ja, Scheiße! Without a second to spare, Hans bolts across the open field. For dramatic effect, let's pretend the first 100 bullets fired from the towers all missing. As he reaches the final obstacle, he can see that this second wall is much harder to climb than the first. Order sequences can be a bitch. As he desperately jumps and slides against the concrete, he's finally hit by the rain of bullets and dies on the spot. Over the years, this same fate fell upon more than 140 people who dared to cross the border in search of the free world on the other side. Yet despite the imposing structure and all those deaths, nearly 5,000 escape attempts were successful. When faced with the challenge of crossing the most heavily defended border strip in the world, people got incredibly creative. In the beginning, people just jumped out of buildings bordering West Berlin, and in some cases, fire nets were held by West Berlin firefighters. At this time, the first casualty was recorded as a lady called Ida Sigman, who jumped from a third-floor window before the safety net was opened by the firefighters, which was tragic, but also not very smart. Obviously, some people spend a bit more effort on timing and planning than poor Lady Ida. In 1964, a 21-year-old engineering student spent 6 months digging a 145-meter tunnel under the wall to help escapees to the west. Through this tunnel, 57 people managed to get through and reach West Berlin. A year later, a trained circus acrobat, I know, super random, identified a section of the wall where he could use a high-tension cable to climb to the other side. However, the acrobat was so tired when he reached to the end of the cable, he dropped down, breaking both of his arms. Nevertheless, he reached West Berlin while doing so. Ironic, though, to perform the shittiest landing in your career and still get the best imaginable outcome. Another guy decided to zipline his entire family to the other side in self-made harnesses. Respect. And if you think sewing harnesses for all your family members is busting your balls, try this on for size. Building your own hot air balloon. And yes, this was a serious escape plan. The Streksik and Wetzel families spend over 2 years secretly building their own hot air balloon in a barn, using scrap nylon, tin foil, and a propane burner. During the night of September the 16th, 1979, they launched the balloon under the cover of darkness, gently elevated themselves to 400 meters, and just chill ride all the way into West Berlin. Now, it goes without saying, these attempts were a few of the most innovative ways people successfully made it across the wall. Of course, we must also mention the people who just decided on brute force, middle fingers in the air, while breaking through the barriers with all types of machines. Some folks jumped on a motorcycle and tried to break through the checkpoints, while a few others just went full-blown action movie style by jumping around. From modified cars to bulldozers to even a frickin' tank, drivers showed up with an array of vehicles to Carmageddon themselves into the free world. But there is one guy who outsmarted them all. Why settle for a car, a bus, a truck, a bulldozer, or a tank when you can just show up with a passenger train? All aboard! And just like that, the East German train engineer Harry Detterling accelerated his passenger train while closing in on the wall at high speed. And who do you think is going to win this battle? The wall or the passenger train cruising at 100 kilometers per hour? Yes, that would be the passenger train cruising at 100 kilometers per hour. What a surprise! After a decade of life under a surveillance state, people behind the Iron Curtain had grown exhausted with constant oppression and intimidation. In May 1989, Hungary opened its borders, and thousands of East Germans seized the opportunity to cross into Austria, showing the world that the wall wasn't impenetrable. In East Germany, mass protests broke out on the streets. Meanwhile, government officials were starting to get their palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, vomit on their sweaters already, Mum's Kartoffelsuppe mit Bratwurst steady. So, in short, these clowns were not exactly the people you'd want managing a shitstorm in Macon. While giving details about new travel regulations, some guy mistakenly said that people could just visit a checkpoint and wander off into the free world. Within hours, thousands of people were squeezing through the checkpoint at Bornholmer Straße like it was some sort of poorly organized love parade. Over the next few days, international media flooded Berlin, capturing the dramatic collapse of the Soviet-controlled state. Sections of the wall were torn down, families reunited, friends danced atop the rubble, and yes, even David Hasselhoff appeared in a gay leather jacket with flickering lights singing about freedom at the Brandenburg Gate. In a twist of irony, the regime's obsession with control ultimately guaranteed it would lose control in the long run. Gorbachev's policies of perestroika and glasnost, combined with years of economic stagnation, pushed the German people to rise up and dismantle every barrier in their way. First, the psychological ones, and eventually the physical one as well.